welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It will be a full day, so I am very happy that we could start off in this moment just together to make a few announcements and to welcome everybody to today's event. So today is the Transatlantic Forum for Environmental and Climate Justice. This is a program that is now in its third year. We've been very grateful both to our partners at the BMW Center for German and European Studies here at Georgetown University for continuing to support this project and this opportunity to bring different communities together to talk about environmental and climate justice, both in Germany and what we're experiencing here in Washington, D.C. We've got quite a few partners who are helping make this possible, as I mentioned, with Georgetown University and TFECJ, as they're lovingly known here. Also, Earth Commons has been really supportive of our work, and they're a new entity here at Georgetown. And so those of you involved in environmental and climate justice, I would encourage you to check out and get to know some of the wonderful work they're doing. There are many things happening here in Washington, D.C. that are you might say in German, they're really leading the way for the national community as well, the national conversation, not just in terms of what's happening at the federal level, which we will hear of, but also what's happening in our DC communities. So it's really exciting to be able to have this conversation in this location. In addition, we're very grateful to the Heinrich Böll Foundation, located here in Washington, D.C. They've been very supportive of both this program and also some other programming that we were able to take part in last week in Charlottesville, which included one of today's speakers, two today's speakers we'll hear from in a little while. Extinction Rebellion DC has been very generous in offering to support our work here with our first workshop, and so we're happy to welcome them to the group. And then the main support comes from, of course, the German embassy here in Washington. Without the German embassy, this wouldn't have been possible. And it really shows the different ways in which I think Germany has tried to take the lead and really helping to cultivate these conversations around the world. So we're very grateful for that. And also for being here. So those are our partners. Those of you who aren't aware, my name is Brendan O'Donnell. Along with Matt Strunig, we make up Pocasito. What is Pocasito? We're a very small but heart-filled organization that basically has two objectives. All of our work sort of fits into these two areas. One is to support communities that are engaging in the work of environmental and climate justice, really getting out there and trying to find ways that as a community, they can deal with these issues. The second area that we focus on is then connecting those communities, bringing them together so that people feel like not only are they not alone, they're not working in a vacuum, as the saying is there, which I really appreciated. I like that image, but really that all of these people around the world who are committed to and working on environmental and climate justice know that they have people out there they can connect with and they can make something happen. Part of that, and to sort of welcome everybody and to focus on the workshop aspect of what will be happening in today's program, I want to introduce you to our speakers and the facilitators who will be a part of this process. So we will start after our introduction and welcoming remarks with a conversation with Ms. Sharon Levine, who is here from Rise St. James in Louisiana. I'm grateful that she was able to come here today, and she'll be speaking with us at the beginning. We will then have a workshop, which is an innovative hybrid arrangement with Tobias Merz, who is based in Freiburg. He'll be online and also be working with the online community here, like an online contingent participating today, as well as Terry Chapman, who is from Extinction Rebellion DC. She's at our third table. And during these workshop events, you'll see her moving around, initiating conversation, getting you engaged, which I hope you will enjoy as well. Our second workshop will be led by Analia Schlegel-Dos from North Minneapolis, Minnesota. She was here last year for the conference as well. Really inspiring work, a lot of talk on the global stage about loss and damage, but always underscored by this relationship that communities have to their environment. So I think this will be a really wonderful way for us to think newly about how we approach this work. We're very excited that she has with her also from Minneapolis, Dola Green. Thanks for joining us today. So they will be very active and moving around and engaging with all of you, as will Helena Marshall, who is one of our, and actually Helena is the lead organizer for Fridays for Future, the youth-powered climate movement in Germany that is responsible for getting hundreds of thousands of people onto the streets to make sure governments are doing what they can and should. Yeah. All right. But before we get to all of that, of course, we have welcome remarks that we are very grateful to have today. We're going to start with Jean Froehly. He is the head of the Economics Finance Department at the German Embassy here in Washington. Somewhat of a newcomer for those of you who might not recognize his face quite yet to the Washington, D.C. community. Prior to being here, you were in the Ukraine for a stint, and we very much value and thank you for your work there as well as here. We look forward to getting to know you better, and I would welcome you to offer some remarks here to our.
Thank you.
Wherever you're comfortable, we have this set up for those of you as our conversation area. So our conversations will happen at eye level, and I love the fact that you're going to inaugurate this book itself.
Thank you so much, Brandon. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I'm really impressed by the setup of the crowd. It's really diverse here, and this is particularly great to see all of you. I just arrived 2 months ago here in DC, and I'm still in a learning mode. I think already some progress, some setups, but I've already felt coming here that here this is something very special. I'm coming from Freiburg, like Ferris, so really to Tobias. And as we already discussed, Freiburg is one of the greenest, also politically speaking, greenest cities in Germany. And I really grew up in the 80s with all front thoughts. We can see today becoming a policy, lots of these ideas being being discussed in Freiburg, actually being part of people's life, neighborhoods there. So I'm so grateful for inviting me. I would like to thank all people who contributed to today's event, especially also, of course, my team with Germans and Jens, you guys from Bocasio, Brandon, Ted Hacks. I'm so grateful also for the German experts and activists coming here on the screen, like Adam Isabel joined us on stage this afternoon. Or I guess thank you so much for the support of this event. I would like to make just 3 very small points, just for thought, I think. The first point is it's very important, especially in these politically very turbulent times we just discussed. We might have also early elections in Germany is not excluded anyway. Regular elections in Germany are scheduled September next year. So we really have to strengthen our transatlantic relation in a structural way, so that we can discuss and work on these very pressing issues beyond, let's say, political circles and change of governments. So whoever might be in government, it's important that we keep the channels open, that we discuss, so that we can feed in political level with our ideas, and to also, as you rightly said, to make governments do what they can, what they should. So, our relationship on the state level is excellent, and we will continue that relationship and this close cooperation. The EPA, Froehly and Karim, so glad to see you here, and it's really a close cooperation. But we need these formats, conferences. We need the fora in order to discuss this, and we have the Transatlantic, the U.S.-German climate and energy partnership. We have the climate bridge. We have the other participants from the embassy on this but we have ideas how to go further. We want to create a Transatlantic Forum on environment. So we could come out with this idea, or came already out with that idea, so we can always do more. Second small point is that really it is of utmost importance to design all that together with you, civil society, activists, experts, because this can only be a two-way street. We cannot deal with these huge challenges of just top down as governments. We need a bottom-up approach. The climate challenge is a whole of society challenge. So we need a whole of society approach affecting everybody of us, and if everybody can take that to do its share. So this exchange is very important, and it's in my view, it's not only important to discuss together and elaborate policies together, but also to implement these policies together. So this is something where I believe it's crucial. You guys to this and that in a very great way. So a small point is that we really have in our work, in our government and activists and civil society, always taking care to reach out to people we still have to convince. Because like everywhere, sometimes we tend to stay in our bubbles. To preach to the converted, it's extremely important, especially in these times, that we can reach out and try to find also language and narratives to have a stronger outreach and to really create diversity and also unity in this endeavor. So with this, I thank you so much for being here. I'm sure I will, at my best, will learn a lot. We are ready to support you, and we are here for you and for your work. And so I wish you a great fun, and looking forward to cooperate with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really a nice way to start off. A wonderful welcoming remarks. You are the host in many ways of today's event, so we appreciate your outreach and working with us as well. One of the things that I was came to mind while you were speaking is one of the goals of or the ideas of this conference, of this forum, which is to honor the work and continue the work. So we want to we thought of this in a way, not just because we want to celebrate that people are working, but there have been real successes in environmental justice, and there have been real successes in the climate movement, and we want to learn from those. And the people who are here to lead our sessions and talk with us today can really highlight that. And that's one of the reasons we wanted them to be here to share with all of us. And some of those successes do trickle up to the government, and our next welcoming remarks sort of speak to that, because this administration has inaugurated at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights. This is something I think as a movement we can be proud of. And what's also very important is that there are people, once those offices can be created, to take that role and do something with it. And that's another aspect of doing this work and continuing this work that really inspires me. One reason it's nice to do that in Washington. Going from someone new to Washington to very DC local, who is the person taking that leadership and moving it forward at the EPA, senior advisor to that Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights at the US EPA, Karim Marshall.
Just saying that was an excellent transition. Something just like yes. So I'm going to be working, and on behalf of the Vice Administration, EPA Administrator Regan, and the 1,000 dedicated public servants of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, bring your greetings. Officially welcome to the 2024 Transatlantic Forum for Environmental and Climate Justice. And I want to thank the German Embassy, Georgetown University, and Poblaciento for hosting this forum and inviting us here today. I would also like to recognize explicitly the robust bilateral relationship between the United States and Germany and our other national entities that have had an opportunity to work with us on issues around environmental justice. My name is Karim Marshall. I am the inaugural senior advisor for the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Our office was created just about 2 years ago, and it's been a busy 2 years. And our core charge from Administrator Michael Regan, aside from like the administrative stuff that we have to do and the individual programs that we have responsibility for, was to integrate EJ into the DNA of EPA. And he says this over and over again at every opportunity that he has. It is a mantra for us. And we have made steady progress in achieving that goal. Now, while we are here today to recognize and celebrate the progress that has been made towards the pursuit of environmental and climate justice, this is an opportunity to celebrate. But it's also important to start any attempt to celebrate a movement towards justice with a clear-eyed recognition of the work that still needs to occur. We've done a lot that we should be proud of. Once in a generation, once in a century, dedication of resources, explicit commitments from our national document about the threat of climate change, the importance of central communities. But there are still communities that, based off of situations wholly outside of their control, don't have equitable access to clean air, clean water, and safe land. And we have a moral obligation to address that. Not just a custodial responsibility as the government, we have a moral obligation to do something about that. And the work continues. So, as you know, EPA has been working on advancing environmental justice for at least 3 decades. And we've been trying to identify and address disproportionate impacts to human health and the environment, particularly for overburdened and marginalized communities. We've been trying to promote equitable access to public health and environmental benefits. We also have been, for a very long time, and I don't think it's gotten the attention that it deserves because it's very critical work, because we all share the same planet. But for a very long time, EPA has been working to be a strong international partner by engaging in discussions with colleagues in Europe and around the world to share perspectives and exchange practices on issues around environmental justice and the approaches that we take. We've welcomed opportunities to hear from other countries on how they interpret and address environmental justice issues based on their unique national contexts. We started bilateral conversations about EJ with environmental ministry colleagues in the United Kingdom and Germany and the European Commission, amongst other countries. We look forward to additional discussions as we move forward with other nations on these critical issues to help shape. I want to be very specific about this wording. We are not shaping the world for them, but we are giving them the tools and empowering them to shape their future themselves. Mm-hmm. And that is a unique and critical perspective change. Previously, we viewed it as a custodial responsibility. We viewed it as, in some ways, a paternalistic responsibility. But the idea of even the nature of the form of our government, which is governance by the consent of the government, recognizes that there's an element of that that requires us to empower communities to tell us what to do. So the Biden-Harris administration, under the leadership of Administrator Regan, and I will say his name repeatedly because I think he's a transformative leader, and it's been an honor to serve under him.
But we've taken the opportunity to exchange practices and information through international organizations like the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development to try to find ways to meet the challenges caused by human-caused climate change and provide equitable access to communities, but particularly historically marginalized communities. We actively participated in the May 2024 convening of the OECD. They had an environmental justice conference, and we were able to meet with Germany, UK, there was a Belgian representative there. There were representatives from all over the globe where we got to actually talk about the unique challenges that we face in trying to address some of these issues. And as much work as the United States has done, we were able to learn a lot from other countries because they make different decisions on how to deal with their unique circumstances, and we can copy, shamelessly steal some of their ideas.
So I think we also want to talk about the fact that sharing and the exchange of ideas can take place through the reports, right? Like a lot of people have become skeptical about the information that's contained in bureaucratic reports because there's the impression that these reports are made and then people don't pay attention to them. But the value of governments is that we have the opportunity to take these reports and we can institutionalize their learning. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Irrespective of the vagaries of elections, you have a very dedicated career civil servants in multiple countries that are taking this information and incorporating it into the day-to-day work that they do. But one of the critical things that came out of all the reports that you saw across countries is the importance of meaningful and early cooperation and engagement with civil society, engaging with the people who are going to live with the consequences of the decisions that are made by their governments. And that you'll see that reflected in many of the international reports, but you'll also see that reflected in EPA's newly rolled out meaningful engagement policy, which takes the perspective of there is a lot to learn that may not necessarily be recognized as official knowledge, particularly things that have been devalued by our system, such as tribal and indigenous knowledge. So the Biden-Harris administration has actually made a bunch of really significant commitments that we think will be long-lasting over time. So I want to jump and point out specifically the Justice 40 commitment. And the theory behind Justice 40 is that there are specific communities that have been historically marginalized and excluded from the opportunity to engage in government resources, government access. And that in order to begin to address that historic underinvestment, 40% of all benefits of federal spending should accrue, or 40% of all federal spending that deals with transportation, environment, infrastructure, and climate should accrue to the communities that have been historically marginalized in these spaces.
And at EPA, we weren't even really given an option. This was clear from the moment it started. We are going to exceed that target. And that is what we've been doing. We recently just had a report on our brownfields investments, and we're at least at 60%. So the idea is that we can serve as a corrective measure if we take the benefits of these programs and we make sure that they're being targeted towards the communities that need them the most. We've also put out some structural changes, and this is stuff that is typically seen as very boring, but the federal grant system is something that is not seen as particularly accessible to people who haven't been doing it for decades. And in order to sort of address that and close that gap between the work that's being performed and the resources that the US federal government is making available, we created a network and a system of technical assistance providers that are meant to give people who are already doing the good work the technical knowledge that's necessary in order to be able to access the federal resources that are being made available specifically to fund that work. So this network of Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Centers is something that the US EPA runs, but we also partner with our other sister agencies to run something called the Thriving Communities Network. And that allows us to partner with USDA, the Department of Transportation, the Department of Energy. And as we mature, the hope is, or the expectation, not the hope, the expectation is that when DOT is present in a community, using their Reconnecting Communities programs to sort of undo some of the historic discrimination that occurred from the highway system that we developed, we also have the opportunity to plug in HUD. We can plug in EPA's brownfields programs. We can plug in arts and humanities. We have the opportunity to make sure that we are present in multiple spaces and that the communities in these spaces are able to fully take advantage of all of the stuff that's available to them because it's their tax dollars too.
At the risk of running a little long, I just want to say very quickly, we have a bunch of data tools that are available. We have something called EJ Screen, which is a very, very valuable tool. And I think initially when we were putting this discussion together, we reflexively talk about EJ Screen as our tool, but it's completely publicly available. We do training that's available. So anyone who wants to use EJ Screen and get those insights that are only really available through data visualization, you can access that, and we have training. So if you're interested, we can definitely connect you with that as well. So we make the best progress when we move forward together. History shows this. When we try to go off in our little silos and do our own little thing, you may get the illusion of rapid progress, but you're really just working harder by yourself. Nationally and internationally, when we have the opportunity to leverage the expertise, the dedication, the success of others, we move better as a human species. And hopefully, we have learned that lesson well enough so that we can apply it to creating a climate-tolerant world so that we as humans don't suffer the consequences of what it means to live in a world where we have a 3-degree rise. We've done a lot. We are far from finished. We are far from finished. And tackling the climate crisis together is going to require perseverance and collaboration at all levels. Our agency-wide planning does reflect the fact that EPA has well-considered goals in this space, and I think you'll see that replicated throughout the rest of the federal government with the planning documents that are coming out. But we will continue to push the envelope. We will work with our state, local, tribal, other federal, and international partners to make sure that we seize on opportunities that are available to deal with the climate crisis in their communities, nationally and internationally. And hopefully, together, our combined actions will make progress towards building a climate-resistant, climate-resilient nation and world by mitigating pollution, improving public health, and stimulating sustainable economic growth and advancing environmental justice for all.
Thank you so much, Karim. And one sort of voice of support, EJ Screen. If you don't know EJ Screen, if you haven't worked with EJ Screen, it is a phenomenal tool to map and understand how different communities are affected by different policies, but also by different factors of climate pollution, environmental toxicity. It's really influential. It's a wonderful thing, and thank you for talking about it, because one of the things that a lot of us don't connect with is all of the tools that are out there. So making that available and advertising that is so helpful and empowering to communities that want to do this work. So thank you for that. And it is really exciting to see that kind of leadership and that perspective shift entering into the federal government, which means those of us in the room need to push that perspective even further, because if it's already being adopted by the federal government, then it's not radical enough, right? So we gotta keep going somehow. So this is wonderful. So thank you very much. Max mentioned a couple of things at the outset. We're gonna get into, let me just mention the agenda real quickly. We're gonna have our conversation with Sharon Levine coming up in just a matter of moments. We'll have a short pause after that. And then we'll have, so about a 15-minute coffee break. Then we'll have Tobias and Terry leading us through our first workshop. Our lunch will take place at 12:30. It will be catered, delivered. You won't even know. And it'll all be waiting for us. Then at 1:15, we will have Analia leading us through workshop number 2. Another coffee break after that, 3:15 and 3:30. Louisa and Helena will join us in our conversation corner for the final session of the day. Restrooms right out here, 2 of them available, coffee, tea, and water. Please help yourselves. There is bread, of course, homemade bread. We're very proud of this. And composting for all of the food and cups, plates, forks that you'll need for the day. If you have any questions about any of this, please don't hesitate to ask me or Max. If you have questions about how to be a brilliant campaigner or organizer, activist for environmental justice and climate justice, stick around, because we've got the experts for that coming up in just a few moments.